December 30th, 2023. Al Smith's birthday. If it's 7 o'clock on Saturday morning, it's time for This Week in Waukesha on WAUK 101.1 FM. I'm your host, Downtown Donnie Browne, coming to you live and local from the office of former Alderman Don Paul Browne here in the Walk Radio Studios in the old NAMI building at 217 Wisconsin Avenue, right around the corner from Theodore Youmans Park, where we are proud to honor our suffragette heritage here in the Shaw. This morning's very special guest, I should say guest plural, but the first guest was named the American Volleyball Coaches Association 14S Coach of the Year for his work with the Motion 14S Blue Squad. He also, in this incredible year of 2023, led the Waukesha North and South combined Fusion boys volleyball team to a share of the Classic 8 title and the sectional championship, going on to state competition. If we were to have a Waukesha Sports Person of the Year, my vote would be this morning's guest, Joseph Banske. Joe, welcome. How are you?
I am great. Thanks for having me, Don. Appreciate it. Love being back.
Yep. And Joe has brought one of his, shall we say, proteges, one of two all-state players from the team, the Fusion player from North, Mr. Nick Bingenheimer. Nick, how are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Sounds great. Yeah, glad you're here. And who was the other second all-state player? I'm embarrassed to ask.
Rick Hill Patadar from Waukesha Southwest.
That's right, of course. So, and he is legend there too. You see him around the South Campus. Like, that's the guy. That's the volleyball star.
Yeah. He's.
I'm sure Nick gets the same, whispers and when he's over there in the North Campus.
One of my favorite parts at the end of the season, we dragged out the vertical measurer. You jump and you swing it and you knock some, and it tells us how high your reach is based on different pieces. And
sure,
both guys are hitting men's national level type heights of 11.5 feet, 11.9.
Wow.
Rick touched. I mean, that is just an insane level to hit. So they're both of the guys' verticals were big, and and that helped us throughout the season.
That's fantastic. And the sport is obviously it's growing in popularity with all the attention on the Wisconsin teams and their success.
Yeah, volleyball on a whole. When you look at the men's side, the last 10 years, there's been a 78% growth in men's volleyball, boys volleyball, in the collegiate high school area. We're seeing states. Minnesota just added sanctioned boys volleyball. It is really starting to become the premier sport for boys.
Sure. Now, on my Facebook post this morning and yesterday and in the previous week, I showed that picture with you and another volleyball legend who I know. Tell us about that real quick.
Karch Karai.
And did you meet him at the national when you got your award for Coach of the Year?
Actually, the day before. Really cool. Got a chance to sit on the sidelines and chat with him. I call him the volleyball Jesus.
No, well said.
He has when you look at his resume of what he's accomplished in the beach, in court, as a coach. If Karch is talking, you shouldn't be.
Sure.
So I did a whole lot of listening and asked him a few questions and was lucky enough to sit in on a couple of sessions that he led, and it was awesome.
Hey, real quick, if I have to introduce my radio Jesus, and her name is Anastasia. And Anya, how are you? And how do you like that comparison?
Am I allowed to be radio Jesus, given my specific predilections towards Judaism? I don't know. Am I perhaps?
Hey, why not? Hey,
I'm Radio
he's
Moses.
From the tribe.
I'm Radio Moses.
Okay,
I'll
even
take
better.
it.
Sure. Yeah. Or David. No.
Or David. I'm the king of radio then.
I'm a
yes,
big David guy. But yeah, sure. No, but Moses is cool too. But yes, Anya, welcome. Glad to have you here.
Glad to be here. Thanks.
I want to finish this Karch Karai story because one of the legends about him that I knew, because he won gold when when beach volleyball became an Olympic sport.
Right.
He won the gold in that, and I think there were a couple. There was there also doubles in addition to a full team or something like that? Yeah, there's doubles.
It's just doubles. Yeah,
it is just doubles. But one of the legends about Karch Karai is that his father thought he was attending law school the whole time, and I guess wasn't really truthful about it the whole time. He was playing beach volleyball there in Southern California, and also raking it in too with prize money, whatnot, when you could do that.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was a neat legend that grew about someone's passion for a sport that he hid the fact that he wasn't at law school at all, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He's people always will tell you that if you've met him, how kind and courteous he is to engage in conversation, and what an asset he is to volleyball.
Sure.
And I'll echo that forever. He was very kind, with his time and giving feedback and stuff like that. So it was an outstanding opportunity.
Sure. So fast forward to today's local legends, which include Nick Bingenheimer. Will they be continuing their volleyball career in college?
I plan on it. I'm not sure where yet, but I'm hoping to be able to play volleyball wherever I go. So I'm getting in contact with a few college coaches, and the ones that have seen me play are pretty excited. Kind of want me. So
that's a great feeling.
Yeah, wherever I go, I'm sure I'll have the same amount of fun that I've had on Waukesha Fusion.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, several of the guys are going on.
That's great. Are we allowed to ask what schools are you're talking to, or is that not safe right now?
No, I mean, it's safe. I've been talking to the MSOE coach, and if I decide to go there, and I might have the possibility to play with Rick into college because he's planning on going to MSOE if he gets accepted. That's
neat. Is he in the engineering academy at South?
Yes.
Okay. So that makes sense.
One of the neat things, when grade checks and things like that come upon, which is something as a high school coach you have to tend with, I get to see how these guys not only excel on the court, but how they just completely crush it in the classroom. And so impressed with what is happening in the classroom. You just sit there and shake your head. It's like, boy, these dudes are, in the gym for the amount of time that we are on weekends and all of those. And you hear that about a lot of really top performing athletes are typically top performing in everything they do in life. Nick, is an Eagle Scout. Nick is an outstanding student. Nick is an outstanding athlete. It kind of comes out of his DNA as who he is as a human being. He's just outstanding across the board.
I love it. And real quick, are there other players on the team that have made commitments to colleges that we can speak of?
Yeah, Liam Robertson from Waukesha North is going to be playing at Stevens Point.
Nice.
Which is a really neat program. I know that Eli Grant is looking.
My Eli Grant?
Your Eli Grant. I know he's had a conversation with, I'm going to keep that coach's name a little concealed, but here in the state of Wisconsin.
That's great.
He's looking at possibly going and pursuing there. I know the coach is interested. I know Eli's interested. I just think they've started recently dancing, so we'll let them dance a little bit before we call them a couple.
That's great. Yeah, Eli was at the house last night. Him and my son Evan went bowling with a crew of other friends, and so that's safe for volleyball players to do, right, in the off season.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So probably good cross training, maybe.
Hey, the only thing that shout out to Liam Houston. The only thing that volleyball coaches get nervous about is skateboarding.
Yeah, I imagine.
That dude.
It's that same ilk of human being, right?
Oh, that dude has blown up his ankles several times. It's just, you get nervous for him as soon as you see him riding the skateboard. We're like, hey, I thought we put a ban on that during the season.
Hey, we're taking your calls for Coach Joe Banske and one of his All-State players, Nick. Let's try this again. Bingenheimer. And the number here, you can call or text 844-967-2789. That's 844-967-2789. We're taking your calls this morning. So, hey,
and your texts.
And your texts. Yes, thanks, Anya. And so let's do a walkthrough of this incredible season. Following an amazing season the year before, I know you didn't finish as high in the Classic 8, but you all but ran the table in the playoffs, losing in the sectional final to CMH, right? Correct. Royal? Okay.
Yeah.
And then this year, you started out, I believe, like one of the first matches was beating number one Arrowhead, number one in the state Arrowhead.
Right.
In an amazing victory. And then you I think you ran the table in the conference, except for, was it one loss to CMH?
One loss. Yeah, we were poised to run the table, and we went to CMH. It was a heck of a game.
Yeah.
If you talk to Danny, their coach, he'll say that they were prepping for us the entire week. That we were their locker room poster, if you will, and. Danny did a great job coaching the guys, and they came out with a game plan and a strategy, and they executed that strategy, and we end up losing a 5-set battle at their place. Wow. It was great match, lots of excitement in the gym, and that made us co-champions for our conference, which was when you look at it, I think Waukesha North. The last time they won the conference was 1992.
Wow.
Waukesha South, the last time they won the conference was in 1990. So you're talking, 32 and 33 type years since South had won, and 30 years since Waukesha North had won. So it was a significant accomplishment in what is widely recognized as the toughest conference in the state for boys volleyball. It's really a feather in the cap for the guys on the team to say that this is what we did and how it went down.
Okay. So we're about a minute and a half away from our community message time. Very important messages we want you to pay attention to. But when we come back, we're going to talk about the rematch that Fusion had with CMH that took place in the sectional final, a battle of Classic 8 co-champions when This Week in Waukesha continues. And also, my guest next week is the new director of the food pantry serving Waukesha County. That's Lindsay Johnson, so be sure to tune in for that. And we hope to have some people from Parks here on the 13th to talk about the annual Winter Jamboree, a great Waukesha tradition. So much to unpack here as we do a complete year in review of 2023 as This Week in Waukesha continues. Do not go away.
Ever you can, I know you can talk about it.
Lamp is burning low upon my tabletop. The snow is softly falling.
Keep going.
The air is still in the silence of my room. I hear your voice softly calling. If I could only have you near to breathe a sigh or two, I would be happy just to hold the hands I love on this winter night with you.
Hey, we're back This Week in Waukesha. And this song doubles as a Christmas song, but for me, it just reminds me of a great way to cuddle up with that someone special on a cold winter's night. And I first became aware of the song. Do you know who the artist is, Joe?
No.
It's Gordon Lightfoot, who passed away this summer, shortly after you were on my show on July 22nd, Joe. Sometime I think it was in August, but one of my favorite, I guess you could call them folk or pop artists out of Canada. And that was one of the lesser known hits, but I saw it in the tributes, and I've become enamored with it. Just another great song of his, and he's fondly remembered. And we'll be remembering some other artists who left us this year. But it's been a great year for Waukesha sports, especially for South. By the way, happy birthday to Carrie Leopold Schulte this week, who celebrated a birthday, and her daughter Emily is on the Waukesha South cheerleading squad that's qualified for the National High School Cheerleading Championships in Orlando, Florida. And they're looking for donations to help Emily and other members of the team pay for this rather extravagant trip.
Yeah.
But hey, congrats. They earned it. And you can contact the cheerleader on Venmo. You pick a day to donate and pay the corresponding amount of the date you have picked. So let's say if you're picking January 26th, you can pay $26. Cash or Venmo is accepted. And if you don't have Venmo, be sure to contact Jenny Robarge or Athletic Director Dan Schreier from the South Athletic Department. And there's so many other great moments in Waukesha sports. The esports team won their second straight state championship out of Waukesha South, and we've had them twice in the show before. And talk about another great group of student athletes.
Yeah,
and taking that passion to college with them too. Many of them are in programs related to game design and other related technologies and competing and getting scholarship money for it. And then also the Waukesha South mock trial team who won their second state championship this year, out second in 3 years, and in between they finished like third or fourth in state competition.
Right.
And so real, again, congrats to Coach Libby Miller and her team. Had a great year, and a couple of she was on the show earlier this year with a couple of players. So those are some fantastic moments. And Nick, I know North's had some great moments too. That if there's any you can recall or shout out, other than in addition to the Fusion volleyball team, or did I kind of put you on the spot there?
Our marching band is always great.
Marching band, of course. Yep.
Off the top of my head, I can't remember any.
So no worries. So, but you're very competitive. Having broadcast 2 North games in a row, there's a lot of excitement about the new coach there at North and the culture, this real positive, progressive, winning culture that they're instilling there for the men's basketball. So it'd be exciting to see them develop.
Yeah, their athletic department. When you look at high school sports and the locality of it, and how does the community become aware of what's happening in a gym?
Yeah,
something that I hear all the time about. First time visitor to watch one of our games, they say, "Wow, I had no idea something this exciting was happening in our gym."
Yeah,
that was said by a former principal to me.
Sure.
And I'm trying to tell y'all.
Yeah,
but that happens. I'm not unique as a coach in that experience.
Sure.
The mock trial team, I know because I know families involved in it.
Yeah.
How well they've done, but who else and where is that we're not as diligent, I think, as in promoting kids who are crushing it in we'll call it the lesser known activities like that.
Absolutely. So and then in returning to volleyball too, like I had thought for sure there was kind of like basketball where it's home and home.
Right.
But it's like football where there's just one game every year.
Yeah.
It's do or die. And but then you watch a game, you watch how physically and emotionally exhausting a 5-set match can, and many of them in the Classic 8 where you have like 4 or 5 teams that are ranked in the top 10 in the state every year.
Right.
Those games, that is a very, even for the fans, like I remember, the games I attended, I was very, I was drained, it was really, but it was exciting. I mean, it was just a thrill to be a part of.
When you look at, again, you mentioned the Classic 8. When you look at that setup, it's for sure a 4-set match. Even when you play a team, these last 2 years, Muskego's been in a rebuild, little bit process. They've got some great underclassmen, freshman, sophomore groups. Ryan Thies's kid is on that team. He's the Marquette University women's coach.
Okay.
DNA it matters. His son can play.
Yeah.
So that's an up and coming program. But those are 4 or 5 set matches against everybody. I mean, very rarely do you see a 3-game sweep in the Classic 8. It's a battle.
I bet. So this second segment, it's a shorter segment, so we're going to put a pin in the rematch with CMH in the sectional final that took place West, because I want to do a real walkthrough of that with you, if that's okay.
Yeah.
But in the time we have here, though, it's like one comment I have about with you, Coach Banske, is having watched my daughter competes at a youth level, and you go over to I forget the name of the volleyball center over there out in Menominee Falls, but
Sting Center.
Mm-hmm. Oh, God, it's like it's very tense.
Oh yeah,
parents, fans, players. It's a really, but then there's Joe Banske, and it's like, you always carry yourself like you don't have a care in the world. You always have this really demeanor that seems contrary to a lot of the pressures that the sport that are part of the sport. Is that fair to say, or is it different there?
I think Nick has kind of got a smile on his face
from
that standpoint.
As a fan,
you don't know my Coach Banske.
As a fan's perspective, it's easy to see him like that, but when we're in the huddle, it is sometimes very different, especially during that sectional final game against CMAs. There were moments where, especially in like the later moments of that fifth set, where he was not cool, calm, and collected.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just that passion coming out, and that passion that like comes out, like it has to come out in everyone, especially if you're that invested in a game like that, a rematch game to win sectionals.
Sure.
Yeah, it was
okay. When we come back from these, and sorry to interrupt the other Nick, but you'll have plenty of time talking next because we want to hear about this game for the ages. It sure was. This match, is a match or game?
Match,
right? Yeah, this match for the ages. So, but also real quick community action: the in January, natural Christmas trees will be collected at the curb by City Public Works staff. New this year, please set out your Christmas trees on the same day as your garbage collection. Trees must be free of lighting decorations, tree stands, or any other objects. So artificial trees will not be collected by Public Works. So, but more community announcements and more to talk about in this 2023 year in review with Volleyball Fusion coach Joe Banske and his All-State player Nick Bingenheimer. Don't go away.
Where whips and snow are drifting. If I could only have you near to breathe a sigh or two, I would be.
You know the song.
I pulled into Nazareth, was feeling about half-past dead. I just need some place where I can lay my head. Hey, mister, can you tell me where a man might find a bed? He just grinned and shook my hand. No was all he said. Take the load off, Fanny.
Now, do you know it now?
Take a load for free.
You didn't know the
Take a load off, Fanny. You put the load right on me.
Hey, welcome back this week in Waukesha on December 30th here on Walk Radio 101.1 FM, 540 AM. And don't forget the Civic Media app. Download it on your smartphone if you haven't already so you can catch This Week in Waukesha on the go. And speaking of which, we also have, you can catch the recordings of the show on WAUKradio.com. Just click on shows and scroll to the very bottom of the weekend shows, and you'll find this. And that way you can check out past shows. And I highly recommend it. Last week, we did a pre-recorded show for due to the holidays with Cole Gallagher, a rising music star, rock star, who's moving from L.A. to Nashville and has roots with the Waukesha community. His grandmother is from here. And so it was really neat to feature, to learn about a young artist. And encourage you to check out, it's ColeGallagher.com, Gallagher, ColeGallagher.com. Kind of like the Harrigan song for any Cagney fans out there. So, but yeah, I do encourage you to check those out. Some great show, including the July 22nd episode of Joe, where we first met Joe Banske here on the show, which was great. Today's guest, Coach Joe Banske, National AVCA Coach of the Year for his work with the 14S girls motion team.
Right.
So, and then of course the Varsity Fusion coach. 2 amazing seasons, including this year's, which was a share of the Classic 8. Like that alone is huge, knowing how competitive the Classic 8 is in volleyball.
Yeah, Arrowhead was who we shared with, and they lost 3 matches all year long. So to be one of the teams that beat them, really kind of describes how difficult a team they were to compete with. And so this is a great accomplishment.
And then in the playoffs, how many games did you have to win to get to the sectional champ? Was it 2 or, or 3?
To get to the sectionals, it was 2 in.
Okay.
We had to play Waukesha. Was it
East or West?
No, it was Brookfield
East.
Yeah, it was
Brookfield East,
Brookfield.
okay.
It was Brookfield East, and that because we had Brookfield East, and then we had New Berlin United, which is another co-op team out of New Berlin, and that put us in the sectionals.
Nice. And then in the sectionals, how many was it? 2 games in the sectionals? Not 2 matches?
No, just one.
Just the one.
It's
And
a
that
sectional final.
That
Yep.
was it. And that was
it.
against Catholic Memorial at
Catholic
Waukesha
Memorial.
West High School.
Correct. Yeah.
And it was a
neutral site and
5-set match.
Yeah, it was.
Wow.
My favorite comment that I got secondhand, it came from the athletic director from South, Dan Schreier. Dan was watching the match with an administrative official from the WIAA had come down to see that game.
Nice.
And the comment from this official was that this was the epitome of youth sports. And when you think about the weight of that statement and what we desire out of youth sport, that sportsmanship, that fierce competition level, the excellence and execution of the skills of the game, all of that was on display. I would argue that you cannot really walk into a D2, a D3 college match and see much better volleyball than what you would have seen that night on display.
Wow.
And in that gym. It was really awesome.
Sure. So, Nick, I'm going to pick on you here put you on the spot here. Kind of give us a walkthrough, a beginning to the end. Without telling the whole story, I mean, like, tell us how it all happened on that championship night.
So for the first half of the game, I personally was playing like not great, but what really kept us in the game and kept our hopes like alive, and mine personally, was everyone else like on the court and anyone that was there was contributing the absolute best that they could. And we even got a mental health personal trainer.
Those are great.
Something, and he was on our sidelines.
Sure.
Giving some words of wisdom, words of motivation. So
that's very key.
Yeah. So everyone that could have possibly contributed did the best they could. And against a team like CMH, you really need that to stay competitive and stay with them the whole game. And stay with the whole game. Like, you need 100% throughout all those 5 sets. And even when we were down 4 points, it was the 5th set started 0-4.
Wow.
We were losing.
Okay.
And even then, everyone was giving their all, like 100%, did not give up. And
does the 5th set go to the same score as the others, or is that like
it goes to
smaller
15?
Score? That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. So wow, that's like overtime essentially.
Oh,
for volleyball.
Yeah. So being down 0-4 is a huge disadvantage, but
that's like a death sentence for a lot of teams.
Yeah.
If that's fair to say.
It's fair to say. Yeah. But even with that detriment, we still played like we knew we were going to win. Like, we played incredible.
Sure.
We, like, it was 1 point at a time. It wasn't going to be one play wins the game. It's 1 point at a time, and it was a long grind through that whole game.
Wow.
And
what was the final score of that 5th set, if you remember?
I think it was 16-14.
So that went to deuce, too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Sure. And so describe, what was that last play? Can you remember the last play that won it for you guys?
So it was a bit of a messy play. I believe we gave him a free ball, or some like deep free ball. Okay. And in my mind, I was in the front row. In my mind, I was like, it was going to Vinny Coelho. So I got to the
for CMH.
For CMH,
okay.
Yeah,
great player, I imagine.
Right, like
going to D1 Pepperdine University. I mean, he's a big.
He's okay.
Yeah, he's a big time player.
So that's amazing. Wow, Pepperdine. That's one of the elite programs, right?
Yep.
Still is. Wow.
Yeah. So, like, playing the match before where we lost and playing them again in this 5th set match, it's it's easy to understand like their mental mindset as well.
Sure.
So
because they felt they had the momentum at that point.
no, they didn't.
No.
They were down
Okay.
15-14. So they
Well, I
was
meant
kind of
coming into the fifth set.
coming into the fifth set.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So as it was going over, it's one of those points where you need, like coming from CMH's perspective,
do or die. Yeah.
it's a point you need. So in those times of desperation, I knew they were going to go to their D1 commit. So I just found them, followed them, and actually got the final block to win the game.
Wow. And was it against Coelho or just he said someone else?
Yeah, it was
Oh,
against
wow.
Coelho, I believe.
So you guys were right. This is like right out of a movie. You're both up there against the net, David and Goliath, if you
Yeah.
will, right? And you blocked that. Wow. And the ball just went like straight down to the floor, kind of carried, but stayed in bounds.
I think it went straight down.
was-
I'm going to say it went straight
Wow.
down.
It's a classic roof. In volleyball, we talk about being roofed because a roof line has
Sure.
right the way you're driving that ball down to the floor. It was a solid block and just an outstanding way to win a
Sure.
match. You know?
Right. Yeah. And it's not like basketball where you're going in for a dunk. There's a certain discipline. Like you can't go over the net. You can't make contact with the other player. You can't make contact with the net to a certain degree. I mean, there's a lot. Like, and then you're expected you're how many feet in the air or how many inches in the air, and you're going up against potential. I mean, you could say potentially a high school All-American, or I mean, gosh, if he's going to Pepperdine, he was first team All-State as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So wow, and then describe the reaction from the crowd and from your team, like when all that happened, if you could.
Pure excitement, pure adrenaline. It was like you mentioned before, it was literally like a movie scene, like that fifth set being down 4.
Mm-hmm.
I was in my head, I was actually thinking this is literally a movie. Like we're going to come back and we're going to win this.
Sure.
Just like classic
Yeah.
inspirational movie stories. So in that moment where he blocked it, I was throwing my hands up in the air. The whole crowd was like screaming, jumping around. Chris Reimer, our libero, was trying to hug me. I was like, I kept pushing him away because I was like celebrating, but he just wanted to hug me.
Sure.
It was such an amazing moment that like I'm never gonna forget. It was amazing.
That's neat. So, and that was a big everyone. Eventually, they have you on their shoulders, or you guys all just kind of hug together and.
We just hugged together. No one was on the
It
shoulder.
was the classic dog pile in the middle of the floor. Yeah, the kid, the fans
With Nick
cleared
at
the
the bottom.
bleachers and all of that.
Wow.
It was, as a coach, it's what you want to help your team accomplish
Sure.
is to create these types of experiences that'll allow them to taste being a champion at a very difficult level. It's what makes it feel so great.
So, speaking of movies, Nick, my wife and I went on a date the other night. We saw The Boys in the Boat.
I saw that too. Yeah.
Have you read the book by, I guess his name's Daniel James Brown?
I plan on reading it.
You really should because there's so much more to the story.
Yeah.
I mean, the book's always better than the movie. The movie was a great adaptation. George Clooney directed it. And have you seen it yet, Joe? As a coach,
I have not. I've only seen
you'll appreciate
the trailers on the TV.
Oh, wow. But it also, too, you owe it to yourself to read the book. Should be on display at the Waukesha Public Library. You're just right around the corner here. But and I'll be happy to lend you my copy if they're out there at the library. But it is amazing. It's a lot like Seabiscuit for horses. And
Mm-hmm.
There's so many common themes between that University of Washington team. They were all kind of blue collar kids, lumberjacks kids, Boeing, assembly line workers kids. And it was during the Depression. And they took on the, crew, as you know, it still very much is an Eastern, like blue blood sport. And this team, they took on the very best in the sport to win the national championship and then went on to win gold. And they were, I don't want to ruin it for you, Joe, but read the book too. But what they did to win the gold too was like, again, against incredible odds given some of the politics and where they were positioned when the race started, but just amazing stuff. And it's neat to see, those young men were part of the greatest generation. Like there's a line in the book where the author Browne, towards the end of the book, he goes and he sits in the exact spot where Hitler sat when he saw this race, when he saw the Americans winning, like in photo finish, by the way. And the author wondered to himself if Hitler had any idea that this group of young men were a sampling of the men and women that would bring his empire of terror down, this greatest generation. And it's neat to see a lot of that character alive in our young men and women that are doing so much great things in the classroom and on the playing fields of Waukesha, high schools.
Yeah. When you think about most people, you get to watch a game and you get invested in that match or game, and you see the finished product.
Mm-hmm.
As a coach, I get to see the struggle and the strife and the anxiety and all of that other stuff that happens through practice as you're trying to develop a skill and master the skill and then execute under pressure. It's awesome to see.
It really is. Yeah. So it's like you're living that movie.
In a lot of ways.
So,
Nick mentioned
the boys on the net.
Yeah. Nick mentioned, we brought in a mindset coach, which is something that Kelly Sheffield, I spent some time with him over the summer and understanding what they're doing in their gym and how, given the resources we have, how could we develop that in our gym? And it's a huge impact for us to have really invested in that area on our team. So
I love that.
And it's paying dividends now for several basketball teams.
Sounds great. Hey, when we come back from these important messages, more on Waukesha Fusion on a memorable year and other highlights from 2023. And then high school game of the week starts up again January 12th. Looks like it'll be Kettle Moraine at CMH. That's 2 Fridays from yesterday. So more on that when we come back from these messages here on This Week in Waukesha. Do not go away.
Look, he even knows how to play.
This is what dreams are made of.
Oh.
Hey, we're back. This week in Waukesha. And Nick Bingenheimer picked out the artist, Van Halen or Van Hagar, with Dreams. That's what dreams are made of. And I forgot to mention the song from the previous segment, the walkout song, if you will, was The Wait by the band. And that's a nod to Robbie Robertson of the band, who passed away at the age of 80. Around the same time Gordon Lightfoot did, like late summer or maybe early fall. And he's fondly remembered, one of my favorite artists, one of my favorite bands. And speaking of movies, if you haven't, you have to see The Last Waltz. You want to see some real Americana, an all-star cast of musicians there for the band's last concert, which was a movie made by Martin Scorsese. Did an adaptation of the movie. And one of the few they did a few recorded songs in addition to the live concert. And one of them, when they did The Wait, that song you heard, they did it with the Staple Singers. So that's a must-see if you haven't seen it already, The Last Waltz. So, but I'm also proud to have here in the office former Alderman Don Browne. My chief of staff, Johnny Watermelon, has come in to pick up some gear, and he says hello or a hoo to everyone. And Johnny's sporting a new mustache there, too. It's looking good. He's kind of looking like, a cross between Joe Stalin and, no, I'm kidding. I'm trying to think of, who else? Oh, no, what's the dude's name? Sam Shepard? No, not Sam Shepard. Sam Elliott, the actor. Yeah, there you go. He's got a little bit of that in him. So a little bit of Joseph Stalin there. So be careful with Johnny. No. So anyway, I am back here in the studios here, 217 Wisconsin Avenue in the old NAMI building. And my guest again, our National Coach of the Year, Joe Banske, also the coach of the sectional champion and Classic 8 co-champion Fusion, and one of his all-state. What's your official role on the team, Nick? Is there a name for you? Like, I know
middle blocker.
Middle blocker. I love that. That is bad. A asterisk. So Nick Bingenheimer, a senior at Waukesha North, so who's going over some attractive opportunities to play volleyball and get a great education at the next level upon his graduation this June. So the sun is popping its way out here. If you haven't looked out the window yet, it is a beautiful Saturday morning, and Weather's been very kind. We didn't have the white Christmas that many of us, including myself, romanticize about, but it was nice for people to get around and connect with family and friends during this holiday season, or just enjoy the fresh air. So, one quick announcement, and put it on your calendar. There's time to plan. At February 16th, Max Inc. Radio, which you hear live on Saturday nights, will be live and local at Maddie's here in downtown Waukesha. Maddie's is located at the old Mad Steintist, where that was located there. So put that on your calendars. That's a great night. Live music that's also recorded here, or that you can catch here at 101.1 FM, WAUK, and that's me. So, hey, quick shout out to the CMH Alumni and Friends basketball tournament. It brought out some impressive talent to the courts yesterday. They had a great group of teams that put their all into every game. The championship was a nail biter and went down to the final second. Congrats to the winning blended alumni team. Great idea with members from 94, 04, 07, and 16 that took home championship jerseys and bragging rights. So I think that's a great concept. I'd like to see maybe our other high schools do that, especially with Julian Schwartz back in town. Him and his brother Billy were my guests earlier this month, celebrating 3 generations of Schwartz families in Waukesha South and in Waukesha School District too. And but I also know when North plays South in a basketball rematch, which will take place at South. North won the first one at their house. I believe it's that game that they're going to celebrate the Fusion volleyball team. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, we're going to raise the conference champion banner,
nice.
At South. That's on February 1st.
Wow.
And it'll be a great opportunity to shine a light on the fellas and let them enjoy having both schools that they each represent be present as we raise that banner. So looking forward to that for sure.
That is terrific. And then also Carroll University women's basketball team, another exciting team to follow. They defeated Haverford 74-38 at a holiday tournament in Guaynabo, Puerto Rico yesterday. That was Olivia Rangel led all Piles with 14 points. She was one of 4 Piles to score double digits, along with Emily Wisner, Chloe Halverson, Ryan Wendt, and Anna Nielsen. The Piles advance to 9-3 on the season, and I believe they have more games during that tournament. So, but and everyone owes it to themselves to check out a Pio basketball game, men's and women's. Both are doing quite well, and a lot of fun to be a part of. So, and then, so in our second hour, we're going to do a year in review. We're going to remember a lot of highlights. We've dedicated a lot of this first hour, and we'll continue to do so with the Fusion men's volleyball team, the North-South combined team that, have blessed us with 2 amazing years. So many memories, and earlier we talked about that sectional championship against CMH, a classic for the ages. And then you went to state, and I know you didn't get as far as you'd liked, but you still went to state. What was that like?
The thing I remember most about state is walking out onto that court, having like an ocean, like 2 sides of an ocean of fans on either side. The side closest to us was our fans, and the other side was Kimberly's fans. It was an amazing experience being in that huge venue, being able to play under those bright lights in front of that many people. So even if the outcome wasn't as good as we'd like, it was still an amazing match. Like both we and Kimberly played at a really, really high level, and as who put it, as the epitome of youth volleyball, youth sports. It was really an amazing experience to be able to play at that high of a level and in that kind of scene.
Yeah. So it was very exciting. And that's the thing is when you're playing at a high level, and coaches say this as a consolation, but it really is true when you look back at, that, if you give it your all, that, what do they say in Friday Night Lights, clear eyes, pure hearts, that, you really, even though you didn't make it over that hurdle, the fact that you left it all there on the playing field, on the floor, in your case, that there's still something very gratifying and rewarding about that, knowing that you went up against the best.
For sure.
So,
yeah, I think the one of the comments that resonates with me about that match was the Kimberly coach during his press conference offered up that, believe it or not, we've played those guys 2 other times in reference to us.
Yeah.
And every one of the matches went just like that. These were, full-length matches, all the points used up kind of moments.
So when we come back for our second hour more with Coach Joe Banske and Nick Bingenheimer, the Fusion volleyball team, as This Week in Waukesha continues, remembering 2023. Don't go away.